Yeah, guys, before we get into everything today, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on who's heating up, why not back it up with the same-game parlay? And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment count with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, so yesterday was the first day of mandatory minicamp. And I don't know, Dustin, start us off. What were your, based on what you heard?
I also talked to Zach
Yeah.
yesterday and today,
Yeah.
and it just sounds like Shedeur Sanders is like really kind of stealing the show, which is very exciting, encouraging.
Yeah.
Although I take it with a grain of salt because it is still June. We've got no pads on. We're talking about 11-11 in no pads.
Right.
We're about 7-on-7, which is a passing drill designed for the offense. So, I'm sort of impressed that. I'm not trying to stroke Zach's ego any more than we have on this show, but like the dude knows ball, and I trust him 100% because he gets access to go to these practices.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on my couch, so
Right.
I trust him. And he's like, dude, listen, the guy. All I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go, and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
And notice all the positive things Zach said. It had nothing to do with statistics.
Right.
It was all about how he looked.
It's eye test, man.
Yeah, and the eye test is good so far. And Mike, you said something in a text group we have about the way he's handled, the way he talks to the media, all these negative stereotypes that he was hit with during the draft process seem to be completely off.
Yeah, when you listen to him, and he spoke yesterday, all we heard about Shedeur coming in, and it was just the pundits and everyone who studies this, he had this. It's not a stereotype, but he was labeled as an arrogant, kind of cocky guy.
Yeah.
And then you hear him talk and watch how he's navigated this early process of being in Cleveland with the Browns, and he comes across completely different. Like, listen to how his teammates talk about him. Listen to how he answered the questions yesterday in particular about learning from Joe Flacco and being in a 4-quarterback battle and waiting for his turn to get the reps that he wants. And it just comes across he's incredibly humble, well-spoken.
Yes.
And I don't mean this as a negative, but kind of quiet, right? Like, you think Shedeur Sanders, you think the legendary change, you think the draft party. That usually comes with a guy that's boisterous and out there and loud and kind of in your face. And then you actually listen to Shedeur talk and you watch how he handles himself. You watch how his teammates have spoken about him. It's the complete 180 from what you expected to get. And I think that's part of the reason he's assimilated so well so far in Cleveland, outside of what we've seen in shorts, no pads, with no pass rush, which, according to everyone we talked to, Zach Jackson in particular, the one I trust the most, says he looks the part of what you would hope for in a franchise quarterback as much as you can up to this point in the process. So more than anything I've seen on the field from Shedeur, because I can't take too much from guys throwing against basically air, no pass rush, I've been damn impressed with how he's handled himself off the field in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
I did not expect that on June 11th. I'd be like, Shedeur is the complete opposite of what I thought the Browns were actually getting.
And I think fans should be excited that Zach, we keep talking about Zach, but in particular, because he is less prone to fluff praise, like praise based on nothing, than anybody else. Like, I feel like many of us in the media, certainly myself included at times, will get excited about a player for no particular reason. And Zach in a way is almost like Greg Cosell. Like, there's very little emotion involved.
Just what he sees.
In his opinions on these guys. And the fact that, because usually when we talk to Zach, especially off the air, he's like, this guy sucks and that guy sucks. And it's not because he's being negative, it's just because he's being realistic. And the Browns have had a lot of sucky players.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's been so positive and impressed with Shedeur Sanders has me excited because, and this whole thing about him being fourth string, I'm sick of hearing about that. Who cares if he's fourth string?
Aaron Rodgers was fourth string yesterday, by the way, in the Steelers.
Was he?
These mini camps don't mean anything.
It's so stupid.
I asked Zach, I'm like, hey, I know we're going to talk today about maybe, Gabriel got some reps with the ones and 11-11. I'm like, dude, we're going to talk about this today. I'm like, this is nothing. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I mean, they're literally not playing Flacco in 11-11.
Yeah.
Because they don't really need to see anything. They know
I thought that was smart when Stefanski came out and said that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they know. Joe Flacco's been in the NFL for 18 seasons, guys. Yeah. Like, he knows. We all know what Joe Flacco can do. Right. He knows the offense better than any quarterback in that room. He's played in the league, like I said, 18 years. Like, what do you want to make this guy do 11-11 in June?
No, not necessary.
I'd rather him just be out there and provide some guidance to the young kids.
I like the tracking stats that we've talked so much about. Flacco was a 0 for 0 yesterday, and the numbers they actually counted. Because he didn't participate, Stefanski said it was planned. They said, we know what Joe Flacco brings to the table. We want to evaluate the young guys. I spoke to 2 people who were in Berea for minicamp yesterday. Zach was not one of them, so I'm curious what he thought. But they both said, and this has nothing to do with Shedeur. This is Dillon versus Dillon for what they'd seen previous rookie minicamps, OTAs versus yesterday. But they say Gabriel had his best day since he'd been in Berea, threw the ball much better than they'd seen in the past. And one of the 2 people has been hit or miss on their quarterback evaluations. The other one I think has been pretty solid, but they said it was by far Dillon individually his best performance since he'd been in Berea. So we could have 2 quarterbacks making some noise moving forward.
But you can't really make noise in June, let's be honest. In the end, it's good that they've looked good. It's good that Shedeur's doing the right things. It's good that Gabriel looked better. You prove nothing in June. Nobody proves anything in June. Nobody wins jobs in June. Once the pads come on, that's when it starts becoming real.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this much. Like, now, you're not, like, overly excited or, like, going crazy about a great throw in 7-on-7 in June. Right. But I think you do look at a guy who doesn't perform well at all.
That's a big
because here's the thing, these drills are designed to make the offense, especially this time of year, to look good.
Right.
And so if a player doesn't perform well, like if Gabriel or Pickett or Shedeur, they're not playing well and they're not completing passes, then you're like, okay, something's up here because this is designed for this guy to thrive and have success and look good. Yeah, absolutely.
There's more to read into failure at this time than there is to success.
Correct.
And it doesn't appear that anybody's failing.
Right.
So
which is a good thing.
That's a real major positive. So we'll see as things continue on here. In terms of anything else, Deontay Johnson was a story. He hadn't been at voluntary camp. Did he? I don't think he spoke, did he?
He did not speak, no. The only 3 people that spoke yesterday were Miles, Gabriel, Sanders, and Stefanski. So maybe later.
So the Deontay Johnson thing's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because the more and more I hear and read and talk to people, it sounds like Deontay Johnson actually is going to be, if he wants to be, he's going to have an opportunity to be like the number 2 receiver on this team.
100%.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting because this is a guy that's making no money this year.
Yeah.
No guaranteed money. So, like, you've been cut by 4 teams in 15 months. And those teams, by the way, are good organizations with really good coaches that I played for and trust. And I think that they know some character issues. So if this dude decides that he wants to stop being a turd and play football, he's going to have an opportunity to catch a lot of passes. And frankly, not just make this team and have success, but probably get a decent contract next year if he balls out. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe the Browns end up paying the guy.
You never know.
But again, there's a lot of buts there and a lot of ifs because this guy has been cut 4 times in less than a year and a half.
Right. Again, by the Steelers, the Ravens. The Texans.
Yes.
And the Panthers.
And the Panthers. All right. Well,
3 of the 4.
3 of the 4. 3 good organizations at least, and 2. Ravens and Steelers, 2 of the best organizations in all of the leagues.
Well, and then by the way, if a bad organization cuts you and they're looking for any sort of talent, that's another telling sign.
Right. Carolina has no receivers.
Yeah. I mean,
and they had a young quarterback. They didn't want him around their young quarterback probably. So and the fact that Baltimore traded for him and then cut him.
Yes.
That's a huge red flag.
Well, Carolina did too. Didn't they acquire him via a trade?
No, they signed him, I think, as a free agent, I believe.
I thought they traded a cornerback.
Maybe.
Could be wrong.
Either way, this is his last shot. If he screws up again,
which, the thing about the Browns in the past is they've actually had some success with this, and Kareem Hunt comes to mind as a guy who had basically been out of the league essentially, and then the Browns sort of give him new life. Maybe an opportunity here for Deontay Johnson.
Right.
But another Toledo guy, by the way.
And he was
Kareem Hunt and Deontay Johnson, Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Is there a little
Can it work?
something, a little magic?
And listen, the guy is extremely talented. We've
Yes.
seen him have success in this league. By far, he's the second most talented player. By far, he's the second most. You could argue he's a more proven player than Jerry Jeudy. You could argue outside of last year. So, yeah, I mean, if he plays up to his capabilities, and as you said, he's not a turd, that's a big boost to the Browns wide receiver core for a guy who there's really no risk because you're not giving him, he's getting no guaranteed money. He screws around, they cut him, goodbye.
And his style lends to a young quarterback. He's quick off the line, great at separating. He runs a lot of the underneath routes as opposed to being a deep threat.
Well,
and if you have a quarterback who you want the ball to get out of his hands quickly, that's the exact kind of receiver.
Well,
you
you've
want
got,
on the outside.
outside of Flacco, you've got 3 really young quarterbacks who haven't played a lot. 2 who've never played in the league, and 1 who's played barely in the league. Okay, and Zach was telling me, he's like, you can tell a couple things by the young players, is that when they need to get rid of the ball, they're like going to Deontay Johnson because he's a veteran. Like he knows where to be. He's a good player. You know what I mean, on the field. Like he's just been a turd off the field.
Yeah,
And in the
it
locker
was
room,
weird
so-
that he wasn't
Yeah.
in voluntary camp.
Yeah,
He's I know he's a veteran, but like you're fighting for a job.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. I mean, and Zach was telling me about this. He's like, yeah, a lot of those guys who are like fighting for a job.
Yeah.
They're doing special teams drills, and like during that, he's like off. He's like catching jugs machine with the
Right,
other
right.
veterans. So
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure the Browns feel like he's going to make the roster.
Okay.
Assuming everything
Right.
stays the course.
Right, as long as he does the right things off the field
Yes.
and in the locker room. Like,
I would be surprised after what I've heard that if he doesn't make the team.
all right, well, that's a positive. A lot of the problem was he was constantly complaining about his targets,
touches, yeah.
and you're playing a playoff game with the Texans. You're with a playoff team in Baltimore. You can't complain about
Beggars
those
can't be
things.
choosers, man.
Right now, hopefully he's learned a lesson. Because I don't know that he had a bad reputation coming into the league. Maybe he did. I don't.
He didn't. I
remember
covered
that.
him at Toledo.
Yeah, I don't remember him having any kind of bad reputation. He seemed like a good player. He played with Kenny Pickett 2 years ago in Pittsburgh, right? So none of us really want Kenny Pickett to be the starting quarterback, but
They do
there
have
is
some
somewhat
level of chemistry,
Yeah,
yeah.
you wonder if Kenny Pickett was. I know Kenny Pickett's not any kind of established player, but I wonder if the Browns even said to Kenny Pickett, "Hey, what do you think of Deontay Johnson?"
Can't hurt
guess,
to ask,
I
right?
guess it's possible.